in a very flowery way, in very captivating way, nice choice of words, but once they would have ascended to the positions of authority, their behavior pattern changes right away. It begs the question, what does NAFA bring on the political mortgage markets of the Gambian that should be enough to qualify you to steer the affairs of this nation for the next 5 years, just in case you wish to contest for the presidency?
Beautiful. But even if you not is benefit, if you look at it from the Mandinka language, from the Fula language, or the Sarahule language, if you're naming yourself something, you name yourself something that's benefit, and that also look at the meaning of NAFA in the long sense. Then it means the National Alliance for Accelerated Advancement. The context behind that is we want a national project that pushes our development in an accelerated manner. We are not Africa, the Gambia and Africa at large. We are stuck in time. And our development needs to be fast-tracked, accelerated. And a question of what we bring to before getting into the politics, we really are. Political parties are incumbent.
Mr. Allen, can you be a bit audible? You have to speak a bit audibly so that you are heard live here.
Yes. Basically, what we mean is when we were establishing our political party or the movement.
Oh, I'm afraid the line seems so bad. We can't get you, Mr. Allen. I don't know if something is wrong with your location. I will urge that you just change your position a bit so that you are received well here in studio. What difference does NAFA bring on the political mortgage market for Gambians who are entrusted with the amount of authority to steer the affairs of this nation in the next 5 years? That's the question, sir. It's getting challenging for us to receive our guest. We're going to take a 1 minute break. We're going to take a quick 1 minute break and then get back and see how best we can reconnect with him. Welcome back from that short break here. Mr. Allen, can you hear me, sir?
I can.
Yes, I didn't hear you earlier, and I want you to do justice to the demand of that question. I ask, what does NAFA bring on the political mortgage market for Gambians to entrust you with the amount of authority to steer the affairs of this nation for the next 5 years? What difference do you bring?
Yes, what we were trying to explain earlier is that before getting into anything, you need to know into. And we know that politics is a vehicle for change. But before getting into politics, you, the individual or the entity, that is your political organization, need to evaluate who you are before getting into the political space. So in our evaluation, we realize that we are Gambians, first and foremost. We are a people with history. We have our own way of life. We have our own norms. We have our own values. And we realize that if we are building a political identity, it needs to be based on these realities. And these realities will also inform our economic programs. So we understand that we, as Gambians, we have a history that was actually interrupted by colonialism. But there's no colonialism at this point in time. There's the architecture that was after the colonizers left, but we have agency to undo whatever harm, the effects of colonialism is still affecting us. So what we need to do right now is to build a political ideology that is reflective of who we are as a people. And that's where NAFA comes in. When we scanned the political space, we felt that most political parties are void of identity. They are void of political ideology. It's all about undoing the ills of society, which is a good thing, but you need to base it on something, because if you're building, you need that foundation. That foundation is your identity as a people, because then you could build from that identity a durable, it's more sustainable development agenda. And we could see how countries that have succeeded manage type of development is based on their identity and who they are as a people.
That's a great one to hear from you. Be reminded that this edition of the Pan-African Drive is proudly sponsored by Africa. Mr. Allen, somebody says that the pregnant rat will be biting you and then blowing it at the same time, so you do not feel the pains. I see you involved in a lot of activities, business, education, and so to speak, as a civil engineer with university branches across the region. Many will say that, okay, that is how they come. Once he gets there, we won't see him anymore. It is translated into the proverb that says, from Sunday to Monday is close, but from Monday to Sunday is far. I saw you in the province yesterday and today, seated with young people, having fun, listening to what the challenges or concerns are. How sure should these young people be that once you get up there, that behavior wouldn't change at all?
Because we are an extension of them. We live what they live. We feel what they feel. And we were in the trenches with them even before getting into politics. We only got into politics because we understood that once you are accorded political power, you have the chance to create laws, you have the chance to make wholesale change. But politics or no politics, we are always working with the people. I can tell you I have a charity organization. I can tell you I work with society. Anything that has to do with dealing with people, improving their lives, even if it's only for a bit, we're involved in it. So you could say we are all hands on deck, but we realize that getting into political office makes more of a difference to the average person than all of these things we do combined.
In 1986, when the Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda was coming to power, one of the statements that actually drew the attention of the people of Uganda was that he says, and I quote, one of the problems, if not a major problems of African leader, is self-aggrandizement and then self-entrenchment. Instead of just staying in power as per the demands of the people and leave when the time is still ripe, they spend time there as though it is their private property. And today, it's exactly 40 years. He's still the president of that country. When Charles Sita was coming to Liberia, Liberians sprang in the streets, you killed my mom, you killed my dad, I will still vote for you. We felt he was a safe haven, and he got there. You know the rest of the story, what transpired. And you have Forigi Assimit of Togo. Today, before getting to power to take over from his dad, he was like a safe haven for the people of Togo. He's already removed the constitutional term limits of that country. And we see what's happening there today. Women are moving into the street, crying that we don't need you anymore, and he doesn't even listen to them. How sure are we that you are not potentially one of such young leader that you're talking right now and smiling, you're not going to turn into one of those Kaguta Museveni?
Yes, it's good to learn history. That way you will not repeat it. If you know my history, you will know that after 3.5 years of running the university, I resigned. We don't have a culture of resigning, and I did that whilst I was in my 20s, in my early 30s.
I will inject there. Just before you go further, Mr. Allen, you're talking about history. An economist has said that an economist dealing with human behavior cannot attain the precision of investigation. As such, An economist, generalization or laws are conceived as conditional rather than absolute. That is what is likely to happen under a given circumstance, but not what must happen or always happen. In other words, the human behavior is unpredictable. Your records in the academics might differ with what happens in politics once you get there. How do you reconcile that?
I think there's certain constants in life. If you're in power, do you entrench yourself? Do you always give yourself an out? That's very important. Giving yourself an out is to create those red lines for yourself, even if the law of the land doesn't dictate certain matters like term limits, like anti-corruption laws and stuff of that sort. You create your own red lines. That's why I indicated that after 3.5 years, without being forced, I had to resign. And I recommended those that would have come to take over my position. I established the structures necessary to be for the entity to be durable post my absence, and it's still working. It's doing very well to date. We need to also learn from someone's history in order to.
Mr. Allen, can you hear me, sir? We've lost a touch of Mr. Allen there. Okay. Mr. Allen, you're back. Can you continue your point, sir?
Yeah, where did we stop? Because I don't know. I kept talking.
We were talking about self-entrenchment. You were saying that you resigned from the university after 3 years, so you want to replicate that in politics. That's where you were.
Yes, what I'm saying is, because the resigning is a red line I created for myself. So upon evaluating my situation and the trajectory of whatever entity I am in, I can make decisions on my behalf that I feel that this is not this is in the best interest of the organization and also to protect myself from entrenchment. You see, those red lines, self-red lines that you create, they're even better than red lines that the state to protect the nation against entrenchment. Because with those red lines that the state creates, we have lawmakers that can undo those red lines. So,
Mr. Allen, yeah, that's a very clever point right there. Let's look at a Gambian presidency. I think the Constitution provides, unlimited time for contesting. What is the self-red line you got for yourself? If you have an opportunity to lead this nation, what's your red line? What's your term limit, your self-term limit outside a presidential term limit of the Constitution? What are you saying to the Gambian people? They're going to be keeping this and marking it against you in the future.
for me, really, all these, I don't know where 2 terms came from. I need to be convinced that 2 terms is the way forward for Africa. All I'm saying is we need institutions that can outlast the presidency. We need institutions that can outlast the person who is there. So that even if you build durable working institutions, an average president can still and govern without much problem to the governed, that is the people. But I need to be convinced that 2 terms is the best. So for Africans, I need to be convinced. I'm yet to be convinced. I'm not saying that because I want to entrench myself. I just don't like to follow the trend unless I'm convinced, not really follow a certain.
Until you are convinced that 2 terms is best for African leadership, what do you think is best for African leadership as per your own personal perspective? Mr. Allen, can you hear me, sir?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you live, sir. I am saying until you are convinced that 2 terms in office is best for Africa, on a personal level, what do you think is best for African leadership? How long should you stay in power?
As long as you can deliver.
As long as you can deliver.
For me, I felt 3.5 years was enough for me to build the foundation and hand over. So as long as you can deliver, you can even resign before your term ends because you feel that you've done what you needed to do. Basically, what I'm saying is, let's put the content forward. You will, regardless of however short term, it doesn't matter whether you're restricted by 2 terms, because if you're restricted by 2 terms, you'll endeavor to exhaust and say that within the 2 terms, I did this much. And in many cases, this much wouldn't account to, if you were to Gambian or at the heart of your program, would be enough. So you'll be doing, step-by-step developments as opposed to accelerated advancement, like our name indicates. So for us, it's about making sure that every day you work. Like we said, Africa is stuck in. We need to double our efforts in order to catch up. We are living in a nation-state system where many nations are way ahead of us. We have lots of work to do, but we need those institutions to be built. We need proper land management system so that will be informed. Development happens on land. We need amongst the people.
Mr. Allen, can you hear me? You're making a clever point here, and we still want you to highlight on the point you're saying here. You're talking about as long as you can deliver. That is the tone. That is the voice of a leader who will make, endeavor with some projects and then leave it halfway and then tell the masses that, give it another chance. I still have unfinished business, just so that they have an opportunity to last into power. How do you reconcile as long as I can deliver?
Yes, as long as I can deliver, it also needs evidence by development program.
Mr. Allen, you might just want to say that point all over because the line was bad. Mr. Allen, can you hear me?
To be evidenced by your development program. I don't know whether you can hear me.
I would just want you to do that point again. As far as you can deliver, I want you to give clarity to the masses. How do you mean as long as you can deliver? I says that is a tone of a leader who wishes to entrench himself, because they will bring in projects and then come back to the masses and say, look, given another term, I've got unfinished business with you people, and gradually they entrench themselves. So in your perspective, in your context, as long as I can deliver, how do you reconcile that so that somebody in Marakisa thinking to will have clarity as to what you actually mean, so that you're not misconstrued?
Deliver development program you sell to the Gambia. So the development program, cultural,
yeah. Mr. Allen, I'm afraid we will have to cut short the conversation here because the signal is quite too terrific. We apologize to.
Cultural readiness has to do with the individual, not building the.
Mr. Allen, can you hear me, sir? Mr. Allen, if you can hear me there, the signal is quite too terrible. We won't be able to continue from now on. I think this will have to be rescheduled. We want to send out unqualified apologies to viewers of all Teledal TV in and outside of the Gambia for that break in the transmission because of all the poor network coverage from our guest.